Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. We appreciate your time. My name is Hendrix Bodden. I am joined by Ernst LaHaye. I am CY2's representative here in North America. Ernst is the CEO and one of the founders of CY2. Just a couple of meeting management items. Everybody is in default listen-only mode, but we do want to make this interactive, so we would encourage you to ask your questions using the questions capability in your GoToWebinar client. And what we'll do is we'll try to answer those as you ask them, but we may not, and if we don't get to them, we will certainly circle back with you and answer them offline. The webinar is being recorded, and so we'll make the recording available to everybody in the next couple of days. You all will get a follow-up email. And I think without any further ado, what I'm going to do is a brief company intro for those of you that don't know who we are. I'm going to turn it over to Ernst. Ernst is going to do a few PowerPoint slides that set the stage as to how we've used standard Campus Solutions and PeopleTools to build a robust continuing education system that all of you who are Campus Solutions licensees can use to support your continuing ed and workforce development requirements. And then Ernst will segue into demo. We're going to try to make this session more demo than anything else, and please feel free to interrupt the demo with questions. We're going to talk briefly about one of our customers. It's a well-known global business school headquartered in France with campuses in the US and other regions that has done some really, I think, admirable and certainly interesting things with our Campus Solutions in terms of expanding kind of their thinking around what is sort of traditional continuing education. And then we'll close at the top of the hour. Ernst, could I ask you please to advance the slide to the intro slide? Thank you very much. For those of you that don't know us, CY2 is arguably the top consultancy and solutions development in the Oracle PeopleSoft higher ed space in Europe. We're bringing that excellence here to the US. We have a handful of customers, and we are certainly happy to talk about them with you guys offline. We've been in existence. I think Ernst has been in Campus Solutions since 2007 or 8. Ernst,
yeah,
even longer. I've been in this world since 2010. Some of you may know me from a company called Gray Heller. As it says on the slides, we've done hundreds of projects, and so I would say there is arguably few people on the planet that know as much about Campus Solutions functionally and technologically as we do. Because of this, we've got a really tight relationship with Oracle. They actually come to us for some solutions development projects, and we're also working really closely with them on developing out the Oracle Digital Assistant. I think some of the campus use cases that were in a recent release are actually built by CY2. We offer multiple solutions, but today we're going to talk about continuing ed. And I think, Ernst, that's probably enough intro. Let me turn it over to you.
Thank you. Okay. Good evening. Hello. Nice of you to actually join us for this continuing education session. And I'm happy to show you what we've actually created and share with you our thoughts and our ideas on how to move this forward, as well as actually a bit of context on why we've actually created this product in the first place. Our continuing education solution is all about see, buy, learn. It really tries to create, or yeah, not only tries, I guess, but gives the students of an institution the ability to actually get a shopping experience like they would get at a commercial web shop like Amazon or other large web shops that you have around the world, whereby you actually look up what you would like to buy, you actually pay for the product that you would like to buy, and then you can start using that product very fast afterwards. Our intent with this product is to offer the same kind of experience so that people can actually start to learn what they would like to learn as fast as possible. Also on the admin side, therefore, actually having a minimum of actions and actions and necessary things that need to happen to actually get the student to be able to learn. From a student point of view, the intent is really to actually, as said, offer a see, buy, learn experience, whereby an external website or our storefront offers a overview of courses that are actually available for the student to choose from, having a small application form, as small as you actually want to have it as such, and actually give the opportunity at that point in time for students to actually pay for their education, or in case that, for instance, a company pays on behalf of the student, have the ability to indicate that somebody else will pay for their studies, and then after the payment has been processed, then give the student access to his learning materials and assets so that they can actually start to learn. We've looked very hard at Campus Solutions, and we have worked, as Hendricks mentioned, for over 20 years of Campus Solutions now, and we found that in order for Campus Solutions to really offer this see, buy, learn experience, we needed to actually shift the model. We needed to actually turn the whole Campus Solutions system slightly around to make it possible to actually give students this see, buy, learn experience. But very importantly to say, our model that we've created coexists very safely and very happily with the normal traditional model in Campus Solutions, where we actually utilize the normal processes that are defined by the system. In our world, in our continuing education parallel world that we've created, we are using the concept of a transaction to identify a student purchasing a piece of education in any way or form. So we have a person who wants to buy a, in essence, product, and that is actually encompassed in a transaction. And with this transaction, the person actually buys the product, is enrolled on this product, can be graded on this product, can actually even get a certificate or a diploma on this product. And if he actually succeeds in the learning objectives of this particular product that he actually has bought. And with that all, we actually have created a far simpler model than we have traditionally in campus when it comes to the capabilities of the normal admission, student records, term activation, enrollment in classes, academic advisement, etc., etc. So our model actually revolves all around person buys product in transaction. And with that, we've created a model that has a number of key capabilities. We are able to offer a flexible educational product, which also could consist of, for instance, a course, or could consist of coaching, or could consist of pre-recorded videos, or could consist of an event, or a meeting that two people actually have, whereby a professor offers help for a particular company, for instance. All those kinds of things could be things that you actually would like to sell, because in the end, it is a model whereby we are trying to offer education either for free or actually for money to people in the form of products. With this product model, we have an instant enrollment model. So when the person buys the product in a transaction and pays for it, we would actually consider that an enrollment. You may have extra requirements around enrollment. like prerequisites or validation of particular diplomas or something like that. But in essence, instant enrollment is possible when the person buys the product and whatever the fee is, pays for the fee. With this model, we are still actually able to manage program completion requirements. So if the product that the person is buying is not just 2 hours of video or an event of an afternoon, but actually consists of multiple courses that the person has to take, he can actually get a certificate, as mentioned, or a diploma at the end of the course or the product that he bought. So the program completion requirements give you the possibility to define requirements for a person to have to meet in order to get this certificate or diploma at the end of their course of study. We are able to store somebody's history and actually track those historical details in detail. So we're able to actually give the student as well as the administration an overview of what the person bought over time. And with that, we can go into two directions, of course. We can either actually think of marketing purposes, whereby we are able to actually inform students about courses that may interest them based on their historical purchases. And we're also able to actually track what a person has achieved over time, and therefore, for instance, after a year or 2 years, offer somebody a certificate or a diploma, or try to interest them for other education that actually would complete their particular piece of studies and would lead to a certificate or a micro-credential or something in that matter. So we're tracking everything that the student does, and we're keeping it in one, let's say, container, so that it's easy for an administrator and easy for logic, that you can actually define yourself using the rules engine to actually validate if somebody has actually obtained a particular certificate, or you can actually push out information to a marketing system. Money is of importance to anyone, to any institution. So we are also managing financial information and managing billing. We are coinciding in Campus Solutions with other modules, of course. So we are utilizing the standard student financials module with at least the processes that actually belong in there to manage financial information and manage billing. We do it in a more user-friendly manner. We do it in a more condensed manner, but it is in the back end a student financials driven process. And as I mentioned a few times already, we are bypassing a number of standard business process steps in Campus Solutions when utilizing our continuing education solution. We have a form of application, so we are able to ask a person to fill in some details before they actually buy the product that they want to buy, but we're not utilizing admissions. We are able to store the fact that the student is enrolled on a particular product that he's bought, but we're not actually utilizing student records for that matter. We are not using term activation. We are not using program plan stack, but we're still able to actually grade students, to track progression, and to actually give somebody a diploma or a certificate. We are coexisting with all these standard processes in the system, but we're actually bypassing most of those pieces because we're actually of the opinion that people who actually do continuing education, at least when thinking of continuing education in its, I would say, purest form, whereby we are offering pieces of education that people buy as single course units, and or particular events or other types of education that we offer to people that do not fit the normal course class model or do not fit the normal program plan stack model, that those people should not have to go through all the business processes that are standard in the system. Because both for the person awaiting to start to learn, as well as for the administrator that has to actually both manage admissions as well as records, as well as the completion of the person or the closure of the records after the person has actually stopped studying, all those things is overhead. And overhead is not very nice if what you're selling actually is a piece of education that's only going to last for a couple of hours, for instance. So really a model that actually is able to bypass lots of steps and actually get a very efficient flow for both student as well as administrator, but coexisting in Campus Solutions with the normal standard process. One of our customers, as Hendricks mentioned, is INSEAD, and we're working very closely with INSEAD in the way that they actually utilize Campus Solutions, because they, as a business school, have a very, I would almost like to say, non-traditional model. They have a number of traditional students that actually offer MBA or EMBA, but they also have a large number of executive program enrollments, and they have a number of companies that actually buy their own education specifically custom made for them as a company at the institution. When INSEAD as a institution went into the pandemic, which actually is luckily for all of us some while ago, but not so far away, they had to actually forcefully rethink the model that they had because of decreased enrollment. Their model used to be people go on site, actually work with a close team of professors and work in teams of attendees on all kinds of business cases and get educated on site. With the pandemic, that was of course impossible. So they had to actually rethink their business model to go from a on-site model literally within weeks, let's say 2 months or so, to a virtual class model whereby there would be a lower cost, there would be a faster course development, and actually there would be the capability of more people actually buying education at a lower price. That of course led to issues around invoicing, led to a different way of onboarding students, and had to actually go to a different business model. When we spoke to them and when we worked with them on parts of this whole transformation, because the transformation was a lot larger for the whole institution, of course, than just the student system, we focused on extending the product portfolio and actually offering that product portfolio to people, a speedy onboarding process whereby we actually had a shorter form of application and or another way of actually getting the students in a quicker way. An ability as well to actually anonymize data after people actually have graduated or have actually finished their studies, to be able to anonymize them along the way. And because of the fact that they actually offer education in multiple countries and to a large variety of companies from all over the world, we also actually created a more robust tax model that allows to actually calculate taxes based on different global tax authorities. In all, we are still working with them. We're still extending models for them all around Campus Solutions to be able for them to use Campus to the fullest in the context of them as a business school. But continuing education and some of the key features around transaction model have actually been utilized by them now for quite a while, and with great success, I would like to say, in making the model simpler for them as an administration, for them as an institution, but also giving students a quicker way into their education. I said earlier that we're actually focusing on Campus Solutions and that we actually are coexisting with existing functionality and processes. When you look at the building blocks of our continuing education solution, you will see that there are actually in total 4 parts that we utilize of standard functionality. We are utilizing the program enrollment functionality to support our product catalog, to support study progress, and to support grading. We are using campus community event management to offer products via product offerings. We are actually storing our product transactions in there, and we're able to do attendance tracking on events where necessary for students that actually buy products that actually have an attendance tracking capability or necessity with it. We are in Campus Solutions, so we, like everybody else, need to, of course, give our students a template. So we are utilizing Campus Community for both personal information as well as for the 3 Cs, as well as for the notification framework in case that we actually want to send notifications to students. And as mentioned earlier, we're actually utilizing student financials for our financial transactions, as well as for tax management, whereby the tax management is actually CY2 in combination with the standard functionality in student financials to actually manage charges, in this context, tax charges. Important to mention, we're native Campus Solutions in the sense that we are actually extending Campus Solutions, but as you mentioned, and as I see here, or as you can see here, we're actually also using a lot of standard functionality in Campus Solutions. We're just utilizing it differently. We're seamlessly coexisting with standard programs and plans, so there is no necessary changes to anything that the institution does today on standard program and plan stacks. And we also found over the last months in conversation with a number of institutions that there is a real need for an overlap between students, overlap in functionality for students to actually be able to be at the same time a degree student actually studying a quote standard program, and meanwhile also whilst being a standard student also having access to some continuing education courses. So the coexistence is now also becoming a bi-existence, whereby students actually live in both worlds. They actually have a standard program as well as actually also at the same time do some continuing education. One thing is very important for all of the products that we actually offer to institutions. They need to be, in our view at least, easily extendable as well as very configurable. Well, very configurable is, as you would see with the number of setup screens, absolutely something that we offer. And the easy extendability is also available because we have built a large number of code hooks in our code line where institutions, with our help or without our help, can actually extend our model yet again to be able to actually really address the necessary challenges that they have as an institution and actually manage the product in the way they would like to manage it in their context. Because we're in Campus Solutions, there's a lot more that actually meets the eye, of course. There is, as mentioned, the combination of mainstream education, actually offering the capability of products being a class linked to a course, but also at the same time, that same piece of education being a product for sale in the continuing education world, having a connection to your CRM system, having the ability to manage discounts, having the ability to have self-service for students, having the ability to reach out to your Active Directory to create a user account for people who do continuing education and therefore giving them access to, for instance, a learning management system, certification, grading, etc. It is your system, it's your Campus Solutions. The capabilities are there for these people to also access other possible functions and other possible capabilities that are in your system because you're actually already in the main student system. Now, about the getting into your system part there, if you look at the way that we've actually created this module, it is really focused on being able to get data into our model within Campus Solutions in multiple ways. We have, as mentioned, an application form framework that actually is hooked up to the continuing education module and actually gives institutions the ability to create multiple application forms specifically focusing on continuing education. We have the ability to have a web service integration. The module is API enabled, I would like to say. So we have the ability for another system to actually send us information about people buying products, has the ability to actually give information about the product that we're actually offering to, for instance, a CRM system, to a web shop, or to any other system that actually needs information about the products that we're offering. and also has the ability to also create, for instance, the financial transaction through web service. Of course, we also have manual entry. There are still, of course, people that need to be managed in a manual way, so that's also a possibility. And as we at least found over the years, continuing education is also a world where file processing is a valid way of getting data into the system. Companies and larger groups of people in general that need to actually study a particular course, in most cases come into the institution in the form of an Excel sheet, whereby you actually have a first name, last name, email address, and an indication of the type of course that they have to study. A hospital, a company that actually has people that work in technology or that work in an area that actually needs reskilling on a yearly basis. In most of those cases, there are longer running contracts between institutions and these companies, whereby people are just being sent over to the institution in the form of an Excel sheet of, okay, these 50 people now need to do a reskilling course on, let's say, intensive care nursing, or the newest way of utilizing particular technology that you as an institution may know more about than, for instance, a company that actually is in that market. So that file processing capability is really important, and we've actually created a file processing module that manages getting that data in the module in a very flexible manner. My only architecture slide before I actually then afterwards would actually jump into the demo. So in all, the idea is that the actor, the student who wants to actually study, is able to get to their studies in multiple ways. He or she can actually go to a website. That website can point them to the application form that we have actually hooked into Campus Solutions. From the website, that could also be sent over to the CRM system, whereby the CRM system manages in the first place their, let's say, application for a particular piece of education. They could actually be reached out to by a call center agent. They could also be, as mentioned, coming in through a file. It doesn't really matter to us how you get to us. One thing that we find is very important is, however you actually reach us within Campus Solutions, you'll always go through search match, and you'll always, as a person, first be checked for existing personal data in the person staging area of campus community, after which you'll actually be moved onwards to continuing education with either an existing MPL ID or with a new MPL ID. And with that, we're making sure that the progress that people may have done in the past, both through other continuing education courses as well as through standard education, will be met. From the continuing education module, as I mentioned, we are able to push out product catalog data to other systems to inform those other systems about the capabilities of the university on behalf, on the side of continuing education. What is for sale and when? Now, as mentioned, let's go into that. Yes, please.
Sorry, we do have one question. Can transcripts be generating using program enrollment?
No, not via program enrollment, but within continuing education, we are absolutely able to create a transcript. For those of you who are, let's say, really into transcript creation, we are not utilizing the standard transcript process, because that actually utilizes student enroll for its data about enrollments. But we are able to create transcripts, because in the end, a transcript is a report that comes out of Campus Solutions. So we are in Campus, and we're able to create these kinds of reports based on information that we store in program enrollment. So in that sense, the answer may be yes, it's possible, but with the context of we are creating transcripts as reports from the system. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, no problem at all. So let me take you to an example and talk you through the different stages of our continuing education model. you're looking at our storefront, which could look differently in your institution, of course, other logos, other colors, other labels, other types of information that you would like to show on this page. Everything that we do is super flexible and super configurable. So those kinds of things are just an example of how things could look. The intent of our storefront in general is to actually lead people towards an application form from an external website where they may have actually already read about the different areas or the different products that actually the institution offers as continuing education. And we're able to pick up their initial interests and show those in the storefront as capable or possible product that people might like to buy. So in this case, we've actually got somebody who actually has an interest in 2 different products, photo, video editing, as well as photography for beginners. And he is able to actually, or she is able to actually go from this storefront to our login page where they can then start their application form for these 2 products and actually buy those 2 products. Our model actually allows either for people to create and use an existing account or check out as a guest, in which case they are still, technically speaking, identified as a user in the system, but that user account is actually not shared with the user itself and is actually destroyed after the person is ready with his education. So let's check out as a guest for a moment because that is fastest to do. And then we reach our application form. Again, the application form is a framework. We actually created a number of pages and we created a number of fields on those pages, but the configurability is such that we can actually add more, we can add less, or we can take less, and with that we can create the application form that we need for the products that the person is buying, because it makes a large difference if we're actually selling something which is only going to last a few hours versus perhaps a course that is going to take a year and actually requires particular prerequisites and actual documents that people need to bring to us and attachments and all kinds of other things. In this case, we're actually utilizing a form which is small, simple, and quick to go through. So if I actually would create a new person here and would actually indicate, sorry, let me just do this properly here. Say that actually this is a person, we can actually enter some address details, we can enter some phone details, we can enter an email address that at least actually let's create a Jana, pardon. Voilà. Let's at least create some details here around the email. We can also, of course, enter a country and then actually enter the address information, but we don't have to. For us in Campus Solutions, we only need a first name and a last name. Everything else is interesting, perhaps. And as an institution, you may feel it's actually super required. So you have the ability, of course, on every field, on every page to indicate that something is required for them, for the person to actually submit their application. But for now, and for us to actually be speedy enough to go through the rest of the demo and just skipping a number of things. Do you have any work experience? If I say, yes, I do, I can actually fill in what kind of work experience I have. But if I say, no, I don't have to, so fine, I can actually move on with that. This one is the most important page, I would say, of all of the pages almost. This is actually where the person indicates who is going to pay, which is in essence, of course, a very important part of the whole story. The person has the ability to actually enter a discount. And if he has a discount code, he can actually calculate discount on the amount of money that he has to pay. And you also have the ability, of course, to actually indicate particular waivers or other types of discounts that you calculate automatically, because either the person is an alumni or the person has multiple brothers and sisters actually studying at the same university, or other types of calculation discounts that you might want to do. But for now, let's actually indicate that we would like to pay. And in this case, we have the option to say, okay, a company pays, multiple people pay, another person pays, or I myself pay. Let's say that we have multiple payers, because in most cases, there are situations whereby there are multiple payers. So we could have a company, for instance, like CY2, that actually has to pay for part of the studies. And then as well, we have a, let me say 700 for this one. And then next to that, we have a person that wants to actually pay for the rest of the education. And that person may be the person who's studying, but could also be a completely different person that actually is, for some reason, paying the bill. Your parents, your friend, your niece, your aunt, whoever. So that person also has a email address, most likely. So we're just going to actually misuse Gmail tonight. And that person is going to pay the rest of the fees. So now we have nicely actually met up the 1,400 euros that we have to pay with two different types of payers here, a company and a person who are both going to pay for our student. With that, we have the information we need to be able to finish the application. Note that the person, and this is of course configuration, and it's of course your choice, but in essence, nobody would probably actually say that somebody is fully enrolled until full payment of the education has been received. We'll be sending out invoices either through email or through paper to the company and to the other person, and ask them to pay the bill before the student is really considered fully enrolled. If the student would pay themselves, we would also be able to actually reach out to a third-party payment provider at this point in time, like CashNet or TouchNet or Ogone or PayPal or whatever else you have as a payment provider, and then actually get the payment done online right there, right then. And then, of course, afterwards, when the person returns to the form to finish their transaction, the payment will be in your system and the enrollment will automatically be full. The same could count if there is a web shop where a person actually buys the product before they even get into our continuing education model. They pay in the web shop, then the information is sent over to us and we continue. So with this, we can actually finish the transaction and end of story for the person at this point in time. He or she is now ready with their part, and actually we as an administration can continue our work on our end. So if I just sign on as an administrator here, and don't forget my password, then I can actually see on my homepage for continuing education that I created here that there is a number of transactions actually in different areas, in different stages of the process. Let me just actually focus on the staged ones for a second here. And if we scroll down, here we have our Rihanna Smith transactions which have come in to PeopleSoft and are at this moment in time staged because we are not sure if this person is an existing person, as it looks like, as well as there are company information is indeed in there. Okay, so one, the person itself is actually suspended, so we would need to actually make this person either a new person or an existing person. And we also have particular payers of this particular product. So we have CY2IT services as a company that we actually need to make sure that we understand if this is an existing company or not. And as you can see, Dirkje de Wit has been identified already as an existing person in the system. So that person doesn't need to be identified anymore. So in order to do the constituent staging, we actually have the standard capabilities of Campus Solutions. And we can say, okay, let's check the search match result for a second and validate if this person is actually new or not. Okay, so it doesn't look like this person is a new person, or it doesn't look like this person is an existing person. But you know what? Let me grab this one. So let me just update the ID here for a sec and apply that for a second here and say, okay, we're actually now an existing person in the system. Just for purposes of time, guys, I'm just actually making it as quickly as possible. With this being done, all I have to do next is manage my transaction for my company. we've created a company search match that actually exists, that normally doesn't exist in PeopleSoft, but we have actually extended the model here to ensure that we can actually find companies and either add new companies or actually take existing companies to actually be linked to a transaction that is incoming. With this, we have actually done everything we need to do. So the transaction has now automatically been posted. We have done the search match on a company and made it an existing company, and we've actually updated the ID to identify that the person was an existing person. Of course, we could have also actually created a new person, created a new organization on the fly. All of those things are actually included. With staging being done, the information went on towards the person transaction component. And in the person transaction component, which is actually about the most important page that we have an overview of the person who actually bought the product. And then with that, actually what was bought, what the status of the enrollment is, and as well, who is actually paying for this particular product. So we have two different products that have been bought for a particular person, in this case Richard Smith, but that actually is of course his existing name. So we have Rihanna being Richard, but two people are actually, two organization and a person are actually paying for their education here in this context, as you can see, and the enrollments themselves are actually here on this page over there. So we're able from here to now manage the payments. So we're managing now first to actually create invoices and afterwards to be able to actually send those invoices out and make sure that we can actually post the transactions. And once the transactions have been posted, we can then post the person transactions, which we could also do by default if we wanted to. But in this case, I wanted to show you that it actually is something that we can also do manually. And with that, we can actually post the transactions and then afterwards bill the transactions. So now we can actually generate invoices or generate an invoice. Okay. Not generate an invoice then. Okay. At least actually the logging is proper, so that at least tells us what's going on.
Sure. But Ernst, I've got a question, and I think we may want to move on just from this element because we've only got 15 minutes left.
Yeah,
but I've got two questions. One, does our continuing education solution respect enrollment control rules such as prereqs, schedule conflicts, holds, etc.?
Yes, it does, in the case that the product that the person is buying is actually a class which is linked to a course, which is then linked to a product. So if you're buying an event on Saturday afternoon from 2 to 4, there are no holds most likely. There is at least no prerequisites, and there is actually no enrollment control as far as closed classes and stuff like that.
So we can do.
So we can do it when it's necessary, but we don't have to do it, and we don't actually do it if it's not necessary. Let me take you for 1 second to.
No, you don't. No, that's fine. Let me go to the next question.
Okay.
Can products in the CE module use the course catalog to create a CE course catalog? And then the following is, can there be multiple units, each having their own independent course catalogs?
Yes and yes. So our products are created. Let me start here because then we can actually answer the question as well as actually, I'll take you here. So our products start as an academic item in our program enrollment error catalog. And in there, they are defined in a particular way, as in this case, for instance, a pre-recorded piece of content. With those pre-recorded pieces of content, those are everlasting, like a course, we are able to identify that a particular product exists and that this product actually has a particular content, maybe has a number of credits and all those kinds of things more. From here, we're also able to identify that this product actually has capabilities like, for instance, a price, like a payment method, like a particular type of fees that they have, particular product tag that we have, and all kinds of other elements that we would like to add to them. But most importantly, we are then taking this particular product and we're actually defining what we call product offerings for them. So we're able to actually create this particular product to be sold for a particular time frame. And this we do using our campus community events. So we're defining a particular product that actually is in essence everlasting, like a course, and then we're using our events to actually define particular product offerings with a start and an end date. And here comes the trick. This particular product that we're buying, or that we're selling, excuse me, can then be linked to a specific class. So let's assume that this class actually 1002 is the same course as the product that we're offering as photography for beginners. We're able to match up two worlds. We have a product that is linked to a specific class number here in a particular term, and thereby we have a link, a one-to-one relationship between the person buying this product and actually enrolling into this event number as the same as people who actually are studying a particular arts program and need to do the course photography for beginners and therefore enroll in class number 1002. So with this match up at this level, we are linking up our classes that we have in the course catalog, or at least in the class table based on the course catalog. We're actually taking them and linking them up to an event whereby we know that people who buy this particular product and are enrolled in this event are actually also, quote, quote, enrolled into class number 1002.
And I think then you answered the follow-on question in terms of if a product's a course, it generates the program stack course enrollment in delivered campus tables.
Be careful, we are not utilizing program plan stack. So we are not using those. We are able to reuse the course catalog courses as products. We are also able to actually define product offerings events and match those up with specific class numbers or combinations of class numbers, like a class plus an associated class. But we live in two different worlds. We have no student enroll entries and we have no program plan stack, because those things actually slow us down when it comes to automated enrollment. And we don't want people to have to go through a number of hoops, both on the admin side as well as on the student side, to be able to be enrolled. So the match is there, but the flexibility is there as well to actually bypass all those steps.
So there's another question. Can a student indicate a certificate to pursue that require like 3 to 5 courses to be completed, and how can you see that progress?
Yes, they can absolutely, and it would actually be sold as a product, normally speaking. And of course, it could also be recognized afterwards if the person has actually obtained single courses, and then afterwards that is recognized as a overarching certificate. Both is actually happening and both is actually possible. Let me take you in 2 seconds back to the program, the progress tracker for the students, so that you can see how that looks. So on our offering level, we also have the ability to override prices that actually are set earlier. At product level, we also have the ability to override other attributes and product tags that are necessary. And our events are then actually scheduled by means of event meetings, which is standard functionality in PeopleSoft to define that this particular class is happening on a Monday during a number of weeks with a particular professor in a particular room. No different, if necessary, as a class. But of course, something that you sell that actually is an event, or something that you sell that is actually just a video or access to a learning management system is not something that you would like to schedule. So scheduling is not required, but is possible through event meetings. Let me take you back for 1 second to the homepage and actually take you to my build classes and take you to Jack here. So Jack already did photography last year. So I wanted you to actually see what his progress tracker looks like after he's done these courses. He actually went and bought 2 courses in the past and has now successfully finished those courses. And we can see they're successfully finished because in the overview for the progress tracker, we have indicated that the result that he had was a pass-fail, where the final result actually was a pass. You can have any grading basis you like, based on what type of results you actually would like to define and how you would like to define the particular grades that you have. This is the same flexibility as that you would have for standard education for students who are utilizing program enrollment. We can have multiple types of results, and we can have as many result types as we like. And we can also, of course, follow the same result scale as counts for standard students in cases whereby we have a product that is also a class in the normal class course catalog. Now, just to come back for 1 second to the idea of a learning package, or the idea of something which leads to a degree. If this person would have bought this learning package over here, he would automatically be offered the choice of actually enrolling in all these courses over here, or a number of them. The intent of the learning packages is to define a structure whereby you actually sell somebody a learning package at a particular price, which consists of a number of courses, or for instance, courses and coaching, or for instance, courses and a limited amount of time in the learning management system, or whatever you would like to sell as a package. And on such a learning package, you can then identify that a certificate should actually be awarded should the student have enough credits for the certificate that you have defined for that package. And you can utilize your rules engine, which is standard in Campus Solutions, to actually, and we have of course also created rules for that, so we can also actually support you on that part, to say, okay, we're calculating your progress based on the learning package that you've done, or maybe even look at other learning packages that you have not actually bought, but could be interesting to you based on what you bought as other courses, and actually visualize that for you as your progress for your studies. So progress is just as important on the continuing ed side, of course, as on the standard education side. The only difference is people who buy these courses one by one or buy a learning package, in many cases, actually may not start with the intent of learning for a certificate, but actually want to learn because they actually like the experience or have a need for something.
Ernst, quick question.
Yeah.
Ernst, quick question. Do we offer a wait list capability?
It has been asked. If you ask me today, the answer is no. Has it been asked? Yes. Can we manage it? Yes, in the sense that if students actually would buy a product where they are on the waiting list, their enrollment status in the transaction component would actually switch to waitlist for us. The only thing is, okay, how do you get off the waitlist then and actually be enrolled afterwards, and how are you properly informed and so on. So I don't see a technical, let's say, complexity to make it happen. It just hasn't happened till now that somebody's actually asked it. So we are expanding this module in all directions, people. And that's because people are seeing the benefits of it and actually are coming at us from all different angles, asking about ways of expanding the module in different directions. And waitlist is something that we've talked about over the last weeks, but it's not something which is available today, but is something which actually is on our roadmap, because we also see it's important in the context of especially the mixed model, whereby students are both standard education students and also would like to buy products as continuing ed students, which then as products could also be part of the course catalog class table.
There's another question, and Ernst, I think we'll skip the poll just because we're
okay.
a few minutes from the top of the hour.
Yes.
There is a kind of a follow-on question. How is class capacity managed if there's a third party paying fees? Is the seat held?
Yes, so we're back to the question of the status of the enrollments. So we have a Dutch customer who actually almost for everything that they do manages their sorry, let me take this one for a second here. That actually manages almost everything that they actually sell. They actually sell to large companies and let's say other types of organizations. For those kinds of situations, in most cases, the classes and the products are actually defined on the fly for them specifically. So in our person transaction module, we have, of course, got an enrollment status that we can identify, and we could actually, as said, easily add waitlist to this list. And there's logic actually attached to what actually is happening over here as far as the drop down is concerned. So actually based on the states, we can do things. So, and on our event, so where we are actually scheduling our product, we can identify how many places we have in the program or in the particular event that we are actually offering. Again, we make a distinction in our heads, many cases, that between things which actually do not really have a wait list or a capacity because it's an event or it's actually something which you sell one-to-one, for instance, or where you actually would manage afterwards that you would have enough space because you've just sold the program for this many times. But of course, if there are fixed numbers, you can define the number of people that actually can enroll, and that would then actually roll back to either telling the person online that the product is no longer for sale for this particular period of time, and you would offer them a different moment in time to start. There's an event status here, which also indicates that at some point the event is full. So it's absolutely possible to indicate how many people can come and how you would manage that. It's really, and this is what we found at least, it's so specific between institutions on how they manage these kinds of circumstances that we have actually created a lot of extension points around it so that people can actually manage their own process in their own way and not be blocked or defined by us how you would need to manage those kinds of cases. But the capabilities are certainly there, yes.
Thank you. And folks, there are definitely some more questions, but I want to be respectful of Ernst's and everybody else's time. We're at the top of the hour. The session is recorded, but also all of the questions are recorded. I'll go through those over the next couple of days and get back to you with responses to the questions. I apologize that we weren't able to get to everything today, but wow, fantastic questions. Hopefully that's an indicator that there's lots of interest in your institution. Again, thank you all very, very much for joining. We really do appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and end the broadcast, and we'll hope to meet all of you some other time, maybe in person. Take care.
Thank you very much.
Have a great rest of the week.
Okay.
Yep. Thanks, Ernst.
Bye-bye. Merci.